No one is immune to procrastination. Luckily, there is a simple approach to overcoming the resistance most of us experience when starting a difficult task or project. Overcome your procrastination with the 5-minute rule. In this video, we explain this rule, why does it work, and how can we apply it to start with the task that we have been procrastinating. Welcome, I'm David. The key is to overcome the initial laziness that comes with starting a task. It is important to value it and commit to starting a task, whatever it may be. Choose the task that is most important to you at the time and in the situation you are. It is unavoidable that we will face a great opposition at first, but it is also natural that this powerful resistance will fade away with time. We will understand that working on it for 5 minutes will make it harder for us to stop. No matter how difficult it is, once we have forced ourselves to start it, the chances of finishing a task successfully improve by 90% after the first 5 minutes. Just forcing us to start it and stay with it for 5 minutes is enough. The first 5 minutes of each activity are the most difficult to deal with. But once those 5 minutes are up, the task may be made tolerable and easier to complete. The key is to overcome your inertia and start the work on these projects. It's straightforward, truly, but it is not simple, as we'll see. Laziness is a tremendously destructive break in the corporate world. A worker's productivity might be harmed by the anxiety of completing a task and the inertia of deferring it to another day. Procrastination does not solve problems. It merely postpones them until you decide to act. Procrastination is the term used in the business world to describe the act of deferring a task. In most cases, the company suffers as the result of that delay. It can be tough to gather the motivation required to begin a new project in our daily lives, a large project in our professional life, or stay with a new habit or tackle a large to-do list, regardless of how productive you have previously been. While no one is immune to procrastination, there is a simple method for helping your brain to overcome the inertia that most of us feels when beginning a particularly difficult work. Because we don't like being uncomfortable, we build sophisticated mechanisms to take control when we are frightened, nervous, or in danger, so we don't die. When you come into contact with a burner or a stove, your impulse is to move away. When you hear a loud, strange noise, such as a siren or anything that looks like a wild animal, your sensory system goes into overdrive. Your pulse quickens, your heart starts to pound, and you prepare to flee from that potential threat. The fight response, it is what it's called, and while it is a terrific technique to prevent accidents and even death, it hasn't built for the mental and emotional suffering we face in today's society. When we are born, millions of years of evolution have left us with this operating system. Any perceived threat triggers a surge of adrenaline and cortisol, triggering our body's most potent defense mechanism. Your body will do practically anything to keep safe in an alarm situation. This also occurs when we are faced with modest or huge jobs and thus combats procrastination. Procrastination, according to scientists, is caused by a struggle between our emotional and rational brain. In a nutshell, our emotional brain is constantly seeking peace and reassurance. Thus, it prefers to avoid challenging jobs that don't provide immediate gratification. This part of your brain is what makes it tough for you to perform certain things, such as getting up early in the morning to exercise. On the other hand, the rational half of your brain excels in long-term planning. While this may appear to be excellent for handling challenging assignments, this rational side can lose control by overthinking things when a task appears to be too difficult. This is known as analysis paralysis. So how do you get around your brain big red panic button when you know you have to do something? The solution is almost shockingly simple. Keep your time commitment to a minimum, reducing the stakes. It might take years to rewrite a novel, months to train for a marathon, and even weeks to make a 15-minute YouTube video. Even if it is a modest work of the day, whatever achievement we offer must overcome the initial opposition. Understandably, we don't want to get started on chores that need so much effort and time. So rather than sitting down to tackle something that makes you nervous, tell your brain that you will only work on a small amount of it for the first 5 minutes. After that 5 minutes are up, you are free to do whatever you like, even if it is not unrelated to your current task. This may appear to be a simple concept to grasp in theory. Do some of us have doubts about this idea? I'm sure you are wondering how 5 minutes of getting to working on a project, may affect the completion of a much larger project that can take months. You'll actually never quit working after only 5 minutes, says the answer. But most likely, I'll keep doing it. Make a deal with yourself to do something for at least 5 minutes if you don't feel like it at first. Because the 5-minute rule targets procrastination at its roots. You will often continue after the initial 5 minutes have passed. The most effective aspect of the 5-minute rule is that our brain don't hate working hard. We just don't like starting with it. When you set a modest, sensible time limitation like 5 minutes, your fight or flight response doesn't perceive the task as a threat, and your body and mind relaxes. Because the most effective component of this rule is that our brain don't mind working hard. We just don't like the notion that is the magic when it happens. It is surprisingly how quickly our brains get into gear once we get started. We quickly move past the anxiety and friction that have been holding us back. It is surprising how quickly our brain gets into gear once we have started. We quickly move past the anxiety and friction that have been holding us back and gain momentum. And this is because our brains are so good at rewarding us for solving issues and overcoming challenges. It feels fantastic to do challenging tasks, no matter how small or large they are. Crossing off the chores we set for the day psychologically fulfill us, produce serotonin, dopamine, and other neurotransmitters, and drive us to keep going in that direction. It is important to remember that success generates success. And while we may initially perceive a work to be tough, once we are inside it and have begun to execute it, we usually discover that it was not so difficult. Once you get started, there are seemingly unlimited options. Some even claim that our mind grows to new realms, but they may be a stretch. You may have only intended to work for 5 minutes, but that small push was enough to jolt your brain awake. A stopwatch has proven to be no match for millions of years of evolution. Set a timer for 5 minutes and see how far you can get before your brain catches up. And okay, if these topics are of your interest, I recommend you to watch this video right away. And if you find our content useful, I invite you to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and like our videos so that we can continue to provide videos every week. I would like to remind you that we have a newsletter on these issues that you can sign up for in the video description. Greetings!